Okay, flying right into it.
All right.
Hello and welcome to the Novocastrian Live with Caleb Lamont. And my yeah, we're getting used to a new format here, guys. So you will have to bear with us for a second while we get our bearings. We have a tremendous show for you tonight. We don't know how much more of the material we will get through today, because it just seems to be more that surfaces every time we do this. And then when it's over, things just keep. Even just last night, there was something major that came up. Anyway, how are you doing, Caleb?
Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, are you ready for the day?
Yeah, let's go.
Caleb's ready, guys. Yes. So, what was I going to start with first? Let's have a look here. Okay. Yes. So we were last week we left off. We kind of started with we ended with the time god, right? We were focusing in on his Rain Man dance at the civic center. There's a lot more we could talk about with that. So let's begin by talking about how we started. We started with the podcasts, the Druid Wars, and we had some quotes that Caleb had collated, and from there it grew because it started to make me think about this long essay that I did a while ago, and it centers around a lot of things, but mainly the civic architecture in Newcastle. And there were certain things that popped out at us when we were doing this research. For one, we were looking at Commons Beaumont's knowledge about Hadrian's Wall, and the fact that there was a reverend, I can't remember what his name was now, but there was a reverend who brought forward information, and he had a whole entire conference at this place called the Literary and Philosophical Society in Newcastle, which is basically like the Royal Society's outpost, if you like, in Newcastle. They call it a hub for learning and for gathering the archives and the archaeology of the Northeast. But it's also it's another one of those gateway places where if if you're not clued in how to read up on these things, you're not going to really find much. You're not really going to get much out of the place unless you're looking into the subjects like we are and bridging the gaps with learned people on the topic that you don't usually hear about. So this reverend came forth and had a proper conference at this philosophical and literary society, and there he told everyone, no, look, I've got all this evidence, stuff you've never seen before, evidence that proves that Severus Septimus built Hadrian's Wall, and that Hadrian's Wall didn't build the wall. Well, we've been looking into that. We also, from Commons Beaumont, gathered that there was another dike either built by Hadrian. Well, he says that it was built by Hadrian, and if that's true, then he does make him a central character in this whole saga. That in and of itself is noteworthy. But at the same time, this Picts Dyke, when we were looking at it, this dike that stretches across from Newcastle, from the Tyne River all the way up to Scotland, and seemed to be hemming in certain counties, separating them from one another. And in Wales, there's another one called Offa's Dyke. And Ralph Ellis has done extensive research on that to show that Offa's Dyke was built by Severus Septimus. In fact, Offa's Dyke comes from Office, or Office, meaning Serpent Dyke. And it has the same kind of winding features that the Picts Dyke does. So that there were some interesting things we found out there. But then we also found out that there's possibly even older ones in Ireland that stretch all the way across Northern Ireland, and these may go back to the times of the Queen of Scotia. So what we were doing alongside that was also looking at the sculptures of, we were looking at particular sculptures in Newcastle, and one came up called Give and Take, which has yielded extraordinary results because it also linked in with Ralph Ellis's work. And this huge stone Give and Take sculpture is a massive sculpture shaped into what looks like the Elagabalus stone that Emperor Elagabalus worshipped and brought to Rome from Syria. And around this sculpture is hexagonal shapes, and it makes it look serpentine. It looks like a serpent's egg. If you like, it's the office egg because, well, it's outside of an office block, but it's also a serpent egg. But I think that in this presentation we'll be looking at it central. We'll be looking at the idea surrounding it being associated with the phoenix more than anything, which was embossed on the original meteoric stone, the Elagabalus stone, which the Emessin dynasty worshipped. There we have a Give and Take there. I was going to get these up as well, and I also have pictures of the dikes as well. I should have brought them up because this all kind of weaves into it. On previous episodes to do with the dikes in particular, we were looking at possible effects of these dikes. This sculpture here lays on the line of the Roman wall. We were looking into how these dikes were almost a way to disturb the ley lines. In a way, they were to interrupt the ancient magnetic lines, the light lines. There are numerous geomantic features which we can't really go into today a whole lot in detail. But by doing these massive trenches, you got to think, how does this disturb the land? How does this disturb the psychic landscape almost? And this in particular, this is on a very old site. In fact, there's an old saying that goes, this stone, there's an old saying that goes, it's something like, there's nothing as old as Pandon in Newcastle. I said Pandon's as old as Knock Cross. Knock Cross is a very old cross in Northumberland, I think near Berwick, and it was a former druidic site. They used that to relate to it, and just saying this place Pandon's probably older than Newcastle itself as a settlement. So if you want to stop sharing, bro, I'll bring up some of my photos and we can go from there. Which screen am I going to do? This one, and get rid of this, and push this over here. Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen now. There we are. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting that the original Elagabalus stone was black, right? And under here, when you get close to this, it's like matte black. Really, I mean, it's reflecting the light somewhat, but it's meant to denote black. It's almost like there's a duality being denoted here.
Zoom in because yeah.
Sorry about that.
I think that the texture of that is really interesting. If you zoom in really close on the floor below it that it's sitting on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The texture, it has its own dragon scale texture of its own.
Yes. It is interesting, isn't it? But it's almost like water, right? There's something going on. And obviously the old stream, Pandondine stream, flows right underneath this thing. So they know what they're doing here. They know that, and also it's advertised somewhat. There's been, and other people have noticed that there's some, let's say there's a pattern of certain civic art sculptures being constructed and commissioned, installed in places around Newcastle where these old rivers were. And the local newspaper, they made a flashy piece about it, saying, "Oh, look, it's a novelty. Everyone, come have a look. It's a trail. It's a nice little tourist trail for you to look at the hidden rivers of Newcastle." but it didn't really go any further than that, because that's all they have to do, right? Then when people start talking about it, they put out a piece which covers their asses, basically.
Also just energetically speaking, that somebody back in the day did a whole presentation and I think even wrote some books about his theory about the pyramids, that they were sort of integral part of the pyramids was these channels of water that were directed to flow under the pyramids, according to him. And when that movement of water would activate all of the harmonics and whatnot. But aside from that, though, I've also heard people say, like the people who find the underground water with the dowsing rods. They say that if they can go, say, into your bedroom, for instance, and if they detect that there's a water flow under where you're sleeping, then that'll cause a lot of disturbances to your sleep.
Right. I see. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. There must be some kind of magnetic interference when there's a flow of water nearby. Of course, there's all those ideas that even if you sleep in the wrong direction, it can affect your sleep if you're sleeping from east to west and north to south. And apparently, supposed to be the best way to sleep is east to west. But I can't remember the exact way you're supposed to lay down. But yeah, that is very, very interesting. I'm just having a look here to see if our chat is online. Sorry, guys, it's our first stream doing this format, so it's a bit odd. This whole this business. We're hoping to just get, but it looks like we're the only. There's nobody chatting yet, so I just wanted to have it up ready to make sure that to see if anyone was in the chat and if they were going to ask any questions. All right, so yes, and we've got the 3 concentric circles here. We've got like an amphitheater, almost like a ring fort thing going on as well. So and this is the massive office block here. Let's see if we can bring this up. Yeah, there's a pyramid at the top here. This is the Deloitte building for Deloitte accounting. And yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know what function it plays, but it's got a strange pattern on it, almost like the grid, the zigzag grid.
Oh, I see the pyramids and the black sun hieroglyph in there. At least Sean would definitely call that a black sun hieroglyph, in the middle of the triangles there.
This is good because we can cover what we went through last week as well. What is this thing? It's it's an egg. So who's coming out of the egg? Perhaps it's the city, right? I got this little thing on here. Let's have a look. Yeah. So I mean, this is a Templar statue, right? Because this refers back to the office cult, and if we get to it, I want to talk about their philosophy. And I dug something out yesterday from a guy called Charles William King. It's called The Gnostics and Their Remains, and it talks about their whole philosophy, the Ophite philosophy, their Gnostic philosophy. And
so we think that it ties into Julia Domna, but it would be really interesting to see if Emperor Elagabalus ever made a pilgrimage up to Pandan or that sort of area.
Yeah. I mean, of course, and I mean, this I think this give and take statue shows us the pact. Right, it's because if Severus Septimus really did build Hadrian's wall, then it was almost like his dikes were part of that pact, and the give and take statue here is kind of like a reminder to that. I think it's the pact that he made with the Emessins as well, with the Syrian dynasty to get them in with Rome. And but yeah, this is on, and just to go over that fact a little bit more. That little aspect there. Where is it? There. We have this here. So we didn't see this very well last time, but we have like a royal society here, and you don't see this kind of thing unless you're a whole. This is built by royal societies who are connected with the Templars. So, and it says God can raise to Abraham children of stones. Children of stones. So is this, where are we? What is it? So is this stone? Are we the children of this stone? Is the city the children of is civilization itself? Stone civilization itself? But yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's look at some of the other things that were around there that we didn't get to last week. Let's have a look. Find it here in a sec. Here we are. We have.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, before we do that, here. Okay. So here is Silver Street. I talked about this last time. This is Silver Street, and that leads all the way up to All Saints Church. That's over in this direction. Over here is Give and Take, and it's just a small.
The audio is doing all kinds of weird stuff on my side, and I'm just hoping that it gets resolved. We did our test run for this using this software last week, and every time it bugged out on the audio while we were using it. When we checked the final recording, it was fixed. But if anybody has any or hears any audio issues, please just say something in the chat about it. That way we know.
Yeah. Agreed. We'll have to sort you out a proper mic, bro. But yeah, so this is it's going to take us a little bit of time now. My brain is completely fried. I felt like I was getting it into a groove when I was sitting over there, but now I'm sitting over here. I'm having to get used to a whole new setup. So I hope people will bear with me while I find my bearings. So this is All Saints Church, Pierre. It's a Presbyterian church. As you can see there, someone slapped a St. George's sticker up here. It's a big thing over here. If you go into small towns, there's St. George flags everywhere. But yeah, so this is the most prestigious looking, strangest looking church in town. It has this almost like oval. You can see it there. Well, didn't mean to zoom in that far. There's an oval there. It's like an oval shaped hall, main hall. And, it's got a lot of similarities to the Templar church in London, the famous Templar church in London. So, but yeah, Harold Bailey, Silver Street, ubiquitous throughout England, indicative of former sacred sites. And then, so that's All Saints Church. Then across the road from there, at the top of the hill, then it's about a 2-minute walk, and you go under the underpass and go on the other side. This thing here, which I didn't get a picture of, which sucks, I think is an octagon, Caleb. And we'll leave that out for now. But just to note that, and look at these things. Holy Jesus Hospital. I haven't decided whether this is a Jesuit hospital or whether this is Knights Hospital. I'm pretty sure it's a Knights Hospital. It's one of those places that's been completely overwhelmed by the rest of the buildings in the area. And if you don't go looking for this thing, you go straight past it if you don't look out for it. And there's no way to park around this thing, so you have to park up elsewhere to get to walk up to it. There's no parking for it. And anyway, you walk along this thing, which is quite, I don't know, it just doesn't fit the rest of the architecture. It's like a medieval building, right? But you walk past it, and then there's this. There's a child. So this is a doorway that's been completely. I'm not actually in the building right now. I just managed to get this fantastic shot of it just by getting the lighting right, making sure that the sun wasn't shone right directly on the glass. So I was able to peer straight through and get this fantastic photo. But this is actually glass where I'm pointing now, and they've left this up, so they want people to see this. They're advertising this, they're letting us know. And that is a black statue of what looks like, like a foster mother or it's a mother suckling her babe. But as we know, symbolically, this means Isis and Horus, right? This is Horus suckling from his mother's breast. And to me, it's a total sign that this is within the same area. This is in the same vicinity. This is built right on the wall, but not only that, it's not only built right on the wall, but it's also built right here. So this is where give and take is, right here, down here. And the hospital I was just talking about is right here. And the church I was talking about is right here. So this is a confluence, right? And it's so strange because I was reading the Gnostics and their remains last night, and so many things were ringing alarm bells in my head. Like, whoa, even to this day, they're still doing the same thing, the same it's even in their Gnostic philosophy, their religion. So this is Eric Byrne and Brandenburn. It stretches all the way down from the Civic Centre to here. And this is so it's between these two old sacred rivers, these Deans that used to run throughout the city. More evidence of that. But again, we were looking at Ralph Ellis last week, and we were talking about how the Gali were river serpent cult. They were called, I think you even had like a double so it was like the serpent cult. And actually many of the statues of Serapis and Serapis and Isis it's a picture of two serpents. So they were, I was actually looking into it a little bit more. The Serapis cult is a lot more, shall we say, there was a lot more secretive things going on with the Serapis cult than we first realized. Actually, it wasn't as the ancient mysteries of the Serapis cult were just as mysterious as the Domna cult, and very linked, if not the same cult, just with a different face. So moving on, we've looked at the Holy Jesus Hospital, which I found interesting, and this is Pandon Burn or Pandon Dean, and it stretches all the way up to the Civic Centre here, and I'll bring up a picture of the Civic Centre. Here, this is a good one. So here's the tower. Here's the council chamber. It's in the shape of a mushroom. It's got this gold oval on the top here. We've got 12 seahorse heads in a circle on the top here. And we have these kind of candlesticks. We've got a golden ball at the top here, which I kind of see as almost, like the sun. So this is built on Pandon Dean, on the former site of Pandon Dean. Right next to it is, let's see if I can find him.
I think how you have all of the sun hieroglyphs, that especially the ones that Sean Ross points out, where it's just a very nondescript circle, solid circle or a little golden globe. Sort of like on the picture you just showed, that little golden globe, if that's the sun here. My impression of the way that it's done is that it's just sort of like meeting the minimum required standards to give a nod to something.
Yeah.
Because it's not really exalting the sun. It's just saying, fine, we put a sun there, or something like that. Because you got to remember how the cults sort of came to some agreements back a long time ago, like the lunar cult, the stellar cult, and the solar cult, and it reached some sort of compromise. Michael Desarian in his astrotheology gives the example of the fact that our months are named after the moon, our days are named after the planet, and our days are named after the planets, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those are actually from the Norse names of the planets. And the 12 hours on the clock is after the sun cult. So it's like these separate cults came together and worked out terms. So when you see a sun hieroglyph everywhere you look, there's a sun hieroglyph. It's almost like they're just making the minimal effort to meet the terms of the compromise with the solar cult. But I don't think that they're primarily a solar cult, Otherwise, they would exalt the sun a lot more, They would give it a lot more
Oh, of course.
embellishment or prominence or prestige in their artwork. But you see them always just have it there. It's almost like they're saying, fine, we'll put up the sun or whatever,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're watching Alan Delaney, if you've been following his work, you'll find that the sun is the serpent. It's the analemma of the sun, right? You have the figure 8 that the sun makes in the sky. At one point, according to the Box saga, it used to go around in a circle, right? Am I getting this right, Caleb? Do you want to just correct me if I'm getting that wrong?
Pretty much, yeah. But so the figure 8 happens when you go out at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And take a picture in the same direction.
Yeah.
Through the course of a year, you'll see that the sun moves in the figure 8. Now, in the Box saga theory of the Earth being on a fixed axis, it doesn't wobble and is not tilted. If you did the same experiment, the sun would just stay in the same spot throughout the year. You would take that picture at the same time every day, and there would be no movement. It would just be there in the same spot every day. So it wouldn't trace a circle per se, but it wouldn't trace anything. It wouldn't trace a figure 8 or anything.
Okay. Yeah. So I call that Equinox Zero. Had my own little name for it because it was just so fascinating to me. But yes, so you have it snaking through the sky. If you were to take, and of course the Druids used to pay attention to this. The ancient Arya, should I say? And not only were they paying attention to that, but they would stick poles in the ground, and then they would watch the sun snake across the ground at a particular angle. And then they would build forts along where that snaking shadow would come out from. So they absolutely conflated the sun with the serpent. It's one and the same. Not only did they conflate the sun with the serpent, but they also conflated the sun with the phoenix, which in ancient Egypt was the Bennu bird. Sorry, let me see if I can get that up. There we are. There is the Bennu bird. And as you can see, there's a snake there in its heart, right? Just to hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, the symbol of birth and rebirth. But actually, this is linked to rivers too, because this is linked to the River Nile. And we have a quote, actually. We'll read that quote right now, since that it's coming up. Because it's all relevant. It all links up with one another. Let's see if I can get it up here. And I'm just going to put it on the screen so people can read it with me, rather than. So this is from Lucy Lamy. From her book Egyptian Mysteries: A New Light on Ancient Knowledge. Contrary to other rivers, the Nile begins its annual swelling in the hottest time of the year, at the beginning of the dog days. That is, at the moment when Sirius rises at the same time as the sun, a date which, during the 3rd millennium BC, coincided with the summer solstice. This coincidence between the heliacal rising of Sirius and the beginning of the inundation marked from the earliest moments of pharaonic history the beginning of being Anyway, I'll continue. In the temple of Philae, the inundation is pictured in a bas-relief in which the Nile, described as Hapi, father of Netu, divine entities, again with two streams of water, moistens the basin in which plants are growing. In this basin stands the soul of Osiris, the human-headed Bennu bird, the phoenix, itself a symbol of the Nile flood and of the incessant cycles of rebirth. Next to the scene, Horus, son of Isis, holds a triple palm, sign of the new year, which begins with the inundation and the three verses from which flows a stream of ankh symbols or keys of life, flanked by two streams of water. Now, it wasn't that hospital, the Holy Jesus Hospital, flanked by two streams of water. Horus has assumed for this occasion the ibis head, characteristic of Thoth, master of time, whose name belongs to the first month of the year. Horus makes libation to his father, Sokar Osiris, who is followed by his two sisters, Isis and Nephthys. According to a tradition transmitted by the Coptic calendar still in use during the last century, the Nile's flood was announced during the night of the drop. Let me say that again. The Nile's flood was announced during the night of the drop, at which time a tear of Isis coming from heaven falls in the river, causing it to swell. Plutarch writes that the souls of the divine entities shine in the stars. Sirius is the one consecrated to Isis, for it brings the water. Similarly, the year, as is witnessed by this small ivory tablet, which belonged to the second king of the first dynasty. On it is inscribed, Sirius, opener of the year, inundation. Sirius is represented by a cow wearing the symbol of the year between its horns. This same symbol is found employed again 3,000 years later in the famous circular zodiac at Dendera. Given the accurate correspondences between the myth and the Nile's actual behaviour, one naturally begins to suspect that the priests really knew more about its sources than its continued insistence on the bigger story would suggest. There was a lot of attention being placed on Sirius there, and one of the things that there's another thing about Pandan that's interesting, by the way. It's called, there's a right next to Silver Street. If I can find this one again. Okay, so just next to here, over this little hill here, it is a street called Dog Bank, and it goes up the other side of the hill. And any places named with dog, according to Harold Bailey, and this being right in the place where Silver Street is, and this All Saints Church here, and we got this whole area being very, very old. The name of Dog Bank, I think, is very, 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 very old. And according to Harold Bailey, they do go back a long way, and there were places associated with Sirius worship.
Will you show the map again?
The map of Pandan? Yeah, sure, no problem. So we have Dog Bank's up here. It stretches up here, and this is west. Yeah, so the dimensions are right: north, east, south, west. What did you want me to bring up?
Would the civic center be somewhere on this map? The one with the seahorse heads and everything?
Yeah. Here we are. Did you want me to zoom out?
Yeah, let's just see kind of, because we've been looking at the civic center, we've been looking at the egg. I just want to see where it is in relation to each other.
Oh yeah, sure. So all this is downhill, by the way. All this is it's a slower incline here, and it really gets steeper here. And this is where the hill really starts to descend. But this is all downhill from here. And as I pointed out last time, it's the one that stretches all the way out of town, this one.
And where is the egg again?
The egg is right here. Sorry. Let me. So the egg will be right Yeah, be right here on the spot.
And the water goes under the egg,
Under the
literally,
egg, yeah.
right? Because they have like some sort of overflow pipes under the ground or something like that, or
Yeah, it's all been infilled and culverted. So they
okay.
laid pipe down. They properly made sure that it's basically like a sewer drain, but it's specifically for the underground stream.
What happens if you guys get really heavy rain?
We have sewers. The sewer overflows. Yeah, we have a good sewage system in Newcastle. Back in the day, though, I'm glad you brought this up because every time we've been doing these live streams, it was meant to come up. But Panda may have been the site of bad disasters. Back in the day, there were floods and the people were killed in them. I've read the chronicles on them. So, yeah, it was known. Pandan Burn was known to overflow during heavy rains, and people could get killed because there were houses all the way. There was houses all the way along here, and there was little communities, medieval communities and things. So, a dangerous place where many people probably died, and through the flooding that happened there. There's been a few instances being recorded of it. Where were we? Ah, yes, Dog Bank. Go ahead.
Back in the day, I heard some of the guys on the internet talking about etymology, saying that the Thames River in London gets its name from time. And had you ever thought about the Tyne River being maybe potentially related to the word time as well?
The Thames, we got Sean Ross says it's Themis. Michael Tessarian says that it's named after, I've lost it now. Adonis. It was named after it, but it was like an epithet of Adonis. Thomas. He says it's named after the Thomas. Another Adonis, basically. The same as Adonis, the same as Mithras. And it's the exact, it's where Thomas comes from, Thomas. It's the ancient Sumerian god, I do believe. So, and I've always erred on Tessarian's side on that. Themis is a Greek goddess. I totally dig that idea as well. And not only that, the Thames is called the Isis further on down towards Oxford. They still call it when the Oxford University still has their boating events. These illustrious boating events, kind of like an initiation ceremony, really. And they say, "Oh, we're going boating out on the Isis." Yes, and so bring your oars and your longboat, and we'll see you there. But yes, find that very interesting. So that did make me lean towards Themis a lot more. And let's face it, right? They talk about Themis, Thomas. You talk about Mithras, and you talk about Serpent. You can't get away from it. These were stand-ins, right? These were masculinized versions of what they were really aiming at. Cybele has Attis, but he's just like her little peon representative of her, stand-in. From what I understand it as, so Tyne. Michael Tessarian's talk. Go ahead before I start rambling again.
So yeah, just because we're touching on Attis and Cybele again, the idea that Cybele supposedly was a hermaphrodite, but that got castrated to become a female, and then it's talking about, oh well, in some accounts, when she had her son Attis, she got impregnated by a almond seed or something like that. So Attis doesn't have a father per se, And then the whole story of Attis and Cybele is replete with all of the aspects of what Michael Tessarian has exposed about the ancient paternity lie, meaning that there's a whole backstory there, and all I can really do is suggest people go get up to speed on that by checking out the presentations on Unslaved.
We're like a giant unslaved advertisement here, guys. It's going to happen. Every episode.
It is what it is, but no, it's a massive thing that that's been delved into now with Mycosarian. It's never been a secret because it's in books, but it's only ever mentioned in passing, like half a paragraph will ever mention it. And it all has to do with the fact that in the days before it was known what the cause of where did children come from, there were primitive theories about where babies came from. They didn't understand that it was a copulation between a male and a female. So from their perspective, it completely was a phenomenon related to females only. In other words, there was no masculine aspect of the baby making process. So they didn't understand that sexual activity actually was the cause, and pregnancy and childbirth was the effect of that chain of events. But the intriguing part, or the controversial part, is that what if the females actually did know exactly what was going on, but chose not to let the secret out to the men? So then what you're looking at is a situation where the females know full and well where babies come from. And I'm talking like upwards of 6,000 years ago, very primitive ancient times, where the females discovered the cause and effect relationship of where do children come from, why do they get pregnant, but they held that information back from the men. So to really get yourself into this story, you have to check out Unslaved's presentations on that, the auto rank presentation in particular.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, I think that when you look at the Cybele and Addis story, that it's just saturated with this leftover, I think it's very related to this paternity lice story. I think it is literally the leftovers of that story still persisting.
So, no, you're right. You're right. And people need to check that out. And just one more mention about Mycosarian. He talks about how Poseidon is also a kind of ambiguous character, let's say, gender-wise. But if I'm struggling to remember what he said exactly about that, maybe that'll come back to me. But I also I looked into the name of the Tyne, and it may go back to the Roman times, as in like Tiyan, which I think stands for either Oceanus, which there was an altar. There was altars found to Neptune and Oceanus right where the Tyne Bridge is, right at the Swing Bridge, sorry, which is right next to the Tyne Bridge. And this is in at the bottom of the huge river that is the Tyne Bridge River. And at the bottom of this, on the riverbed, this is where these altars were found. But they were also, Commons Beaumont talks about that. These altars never moved. They didn't fall into the River Tyne. This is where these altars were. And over time, the sea levels rose, and they rose about 9 foot since that time. And he says that he even used the example of these altars to show that look, this is how far the sea levels have risen. Anyway, it's quite interesting because, yeah, even if you don't like Tiyan, as in like the Oceanus, the river Oceanus, as what Tyne means, it could mean Tan, which is an old name, very, very, very ancient name for Poseidon. Again, Poseidon has connotations of being hermaphroditic in nature, especially the further back you go in time. So there's that. But getting back to it before we lose our place, we were talking about the tear of Isis falling down, the night of the drop. And we were talking about how Sirius was, is the one consecrated to Isis, for it brings the water, right? Sirius was also the bringer of comets, though. Again, what Commons Beaumont talks about a lot is that Sirius was the bringer of comets, and also the dog days. And during the summer, I've noticed, the comets start to come back around. I've been noticing this for a few years now, that it seems to be around the summertime where the comets are coming, that's when we have the heat waves, because we have all these crazy gases which act as like ozone things, but also we have the sun firing huge flares because these comets are careering into the sun and creating sunspots, which creates more warmth. It creates a sun. Notice as soon as I've heard that a comet has disappeared into the sun, next thing I know, there's a giant flare, and then the can cause a heat wave from a week to a month. So there's that. We have this place, Pandon. We have, in one of their streets is called Dog Bank, and we have this teardrop shaped thing called Give and Take there. And I think there is a link there, and also again in that passage I just talked about there, the Bennu bird is linked to all this. Like it's the heralder of the night of the drop. I'll just get this up, see, share it again, and I'll just get this picture up here. And also I thought about the night of the drop, a teardrop sent from Isis. It's only, but again, it's very cometary, very very cometary ideas, right? You're sending this drop from heaven, and it brings the rains, it brings the swelling of the river. This is right next to the Tyne River, guys. This is this stone here couldn't be any more of a river stone than, like a stone of worship, honoring that form, honoring that practice, going way, way back. Where is it?
So if that's the teardrop, if that stone is the teardrop falling into the river,
here's
then
the
you
river
even
Tyne.
have then you even have the concentric rings of a drop falling in water.
Of course, right. Geez, excellent. But there's something else that's just been breaking my balls. I've been looking at these rings and going, what do they mean? No, of course, yes. I mean, yeah, I was thinking, impact site, like an impact crater. But yes, of course, concentric rings, like a teardrop hitting water. Excellent. So there's that, Now, where do we go from here? Because no, was there anything else in here that I wanted to talk about? This serious, yes. Up here, it took me off balance. I really just wanted to concentrate on this again. The soul of Osiris, the human-headed Bennu bird, the phoenix itself, a symbol of the Nile flood and of the incessant cycles of rebirth. Well, I mean, like as I said, Pandon used to be the site of many floods. So here we are. And notice Happy, the father of I guess that's where the word happy came from, right? It's very interesting. So, okay, where do we move? Right, yeah. Okay, let's see. Now, I'll bring this over here. Everything about this huge circle and happens on the magnitude report. Oh, okay, that's the wrong one. Let's bring that one back. Sorry about this, guys. We'll be back to our scheduled programming in just a sec. We're talking about people. Oh, right, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, let's go back to the Civic Center.
And just remember that it's when you change the image on the screen, that's when the audio bugs out for a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. No problem. Yes. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. So someone mentioned the other day, they were asking me how I feel about Newcastle, and the state that it's in. As I said, I feel numb to it on the day to day. Then I put my detective head on, and boom, I'm visualizing Newcastle how it used to be, how green and connected to the land it once was. Which was only a little over 150 years ago, really. I've read the laments of Newcastle's bards in Edwardian and Victorian eras, lamenting the loss of their gene natural features. You know, they called it their gene. You know, like a something wondrous. You know, natural features such as the rivers and streams. And they were gorgeous deans. You know, let me get something up for you. I feel their pain and loss basically. And in a way, yeah, that we've been severed from that. And I think these civic sculptures are a celebration of that as well. Let's see now if I can get this up here. Bring this over here. Pandan. All right. Okay. Pandan Dean. This is Barras Bridge, where the Civic Centre used to be. Okay, there was cows and things there. The stream went underneath this stone bridge. It's 1810. There, this is what it looked like in the past. If you can see that, all right. I hope you can. Let's see this now. And then we have another picture of it here. Just luscious, and it was fantastic, you know. And you were talking about London. They suffered the same thing. They have loads of underground rivers now as well, the same as this city does as well. I imagine it's the same for Manchester and Leeds and Birmingham. But this is the site looking down from the top of the hill of Pandan Dean all the way down. This is more near to where we were, or where we've been looking. So if you go all the way down here and then down the hill, that's where give and take would be today. Here we got more drawings here, and we have a poem here. It says, "When cooling zephyrs wanton play, then off to Pandan Dean I stray. When sore depressed with grief and woe, then from a busy world I go. My mind is calm, my soul serene, beneath the bank in Pandan Dean. The feathered race around me sing. They make the hills and valleys ring. My sorrow flies, my grief is gone. I warble with the tuneful throng. All things wear a pleasing mane beneath the bank in Pandan Dean. At distance stands an ancient tower, which ruin threatens every hour. I'm struck with reverence at the sight. I pause and gaze in fond delight. The antique walls do join the scene and make more lovely Pandan Dean. Above me stand the towering trees, while here I fell the gentle breeze. The water flows by chance around, and green enamels all the ground, which gives new splendour to the scene and adds a grace to Pandan Dean. And when I mount the rising hill and then survey the purling rill, my eyes delighted, but I mourn to think of winter's quick return, with withering winds and frosts so keen. I sighing leave the Pandan Dean. Oh, spare for one a female pen. I'm not even sure if I said that right, actually. Spare for owner a female pen, and lash licentious wicked men. Your conscious cheek need never glow, if you your talents thus bestow. Scare 15 summers have I seen, yet dare to sing of Pandan Dean. So obviously, you know, I just wanted to read that really. It was by a person called Rosalinda. She was a bard of Newcastle, I think from the 17th, 18th century. Oh wait, yeah, there we are. From the September 18th, 1776. Oh, bear with me, guys. I'm just this new format's a bit. Wow, it's really it's taking some time to get used to. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, this isn't. Imagine this is all over the UK. So let's go to the Civic Centre again then. So we have 12 seahorse heads in a circle. We've already talked about that, but like, nobody really sees these ones. This is the 8 seahorses I was talking about on the top there. And at night time, this lights up. The tower lights up. In fact, I don't know if you can actually notice, but that's a replica of the lighthouse of Alexandria. If you look at old illustrations of the lighthouse of Alexandria, this is what you'll see, something very akin to this, and that is very on purpose. Now, why? Well, why the lighthouse of Alexandria anyway? Okay, we know that there's the Lady Liberty. They've had a thing for people holding torches. They have a thing for lighthouses as well. But what was the first lighthouse? You know, I guess a beacon on a hill, right? But what was before that? Well, volcanoes, right? Volcanoes were the first beacons on the hills, and man got the idea for a beacon on a hill. There's a hill in Middlesbrough called Odin's Hill, and it's right near the sea. So they built, but it's also near moorlands, and these moorlands tower above this hill. But because of this hill, this man-made hill, which is very like Silbury Hill. I didn't get a picture up of that, but this hill, it looks very like Silbury Hill, and it looks very strange when you're driving next to it. And I remember the first time I drive there, and I was like, what the hell is that? And my relatives said to me, nobody knows what that thing is. It's a strange looking hill, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. So I got out of the car, went all the way to the top, and you could see over the moors that this is in further south from where I am. But you could also see out to the sea, and you could see the other towns and things around it. And I was like, this is perfect place for a beacon. But what's interesting about the whole lighthouse thing is because it's almost last week we were looking at forts. We were looking at forts in Syria that were built inside volcanoes, and even forts that were built on top of hills, but then they were shaped to look like volcanoes. We also talked about how the Greek Prometheus, Deucalion, was warned that cataclysms were on their way, that cometary cataclysms were on their way. And also, if you look at Prometheus as a volcano, in which Comins Beaumont does in his riddle Prehistoric Britain, then it is Mount Prometheus who taught man about fire and how to use firearms and how to for instance, let me bring up the Tyne God, right? There's three versions of this. There's this bust with a Modius on top, a flaming Modius, right? Sort of almost like he is a living lighthouse, or if you like, he's also got a volcano on top of his head. Two at the same time. Inside the Modius is burning coals, which comes from the ground. Again, probably going to be sick of me bringing him up, but Comins Beaumont, he talks about how coal was laid down during great cometary impacts in strips, and it was laid down by these celestial upheaval events where great masses of continent-sized pieces were smashed into the earth and create these layers of coal. Newcastle's built on coal. It's so I mean, but as I said, Prometheus, volcanoes, and comets were all linked. Prometheus didn't only teach Deucalion about fire and about firearms and other compounds and chemicals. He also taught them he also warned them that comets were on their way. And obviously, after a certain amount of time, these ancient tribes would have known where these comets fell and noticed that there was sort of, or maybe they didn't, maybe they worked this out for themselves. Regardless, they noticed that these massive strips of coal were underground, and they could see the coal streams coming out of the cliff. You could see where all this black material was coming from. So you have this guy who, when I was writing my rather large essay of notes, said this is Prometheus. He's got the fire here. He sees, well, you know, this also refers to the Serpent cult. This refers to the Julia. In fact, let me see if I can get it up. I think it's in here. If you look at that head, I mean, we've got this as well. So imagine that bust, right? What you just saw, the Tyne God there. Just imagine there's a massive serpentine body beneath him. And, you know, that's kind of what's being indicated there for me. You know, there we go. There. Serpent with a massive modius on his head. So, where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Julia Domna and her. Is it this one? No? This one? Yeah. Okay. So we have the Tyne God with his flaming modius on his head, and then you have this snake. And as I said, if you can just imagine that bust having a serpentine body underneath it, and then you've got the shining coming out of the head. And, you know, this symbol relates to a lot of Gnostic cults, and the whole phrase Agatha Daemon, which Ralph used to describe this coin, comes from the I'm sure it's Agatha Daemon is a word very much linked to the way the Gnostics would have looked at this thing. So what is that, like a crescent moon on its tail? So you have that. You know, I'm trying to go somewhere with this. Let's see if I can go with my note. See where I was with my notes. Okay, so Mount Dykes. Did you have anything to say on that while I'm searching for these notes?
No, but it seems like you have a lot of pictures with examples of the modius. Maybe you should just pull those each up and just sort of touch on them all. That way we can really understand what's going on with that.
Sure. Yeah, will do. One sec. Templar statue, dikes, volcanoes. Okay. People that are living in volcanoes. All right. How many? Okay. Right. Let's bring up these modius. Sorry for the wait, guys. Jeez, I know it's terrible if you're still here. Thank you very much. Do appreciate it. And I have a few thank yous to say at the end. So this is pictures of Serpent and Isis again, and there are pictures of Severus Septimus where he looks very like the depictions of Serpent and Isis here, and Julia Domna as well is made to look like this depiction of Isis here, or vice versa. Here you have another one, and the serpent is coiled around. The way that they're stood up straight, I can't help but think of a tower, and obviously the modius as well. And if you look at statues of Kybele, she has a tower on her head. And as I said, we're looking at volcanoes and we're looking at lighthouses here as well, right? And we've got the rays of light coming from his head, you know. So again, the flaming modius, but it's kind of it's being indicated here, isn't it? With these rays of light.
I think it's got to be like I think it must be a prototype of Lucifer as well.
Of course. Certainly. When we get into the Gnostic religion of these guys, yeah, oh dear me, that'll definitely come into play later. Let's see if this one, that's not, okay. I didn't expect it to, what's
I'm also getting Blackbeard vibes with all of these ones too. You know how Blackbeard used to tie in the flammable wicks into his beard and light them.
Oh, right. I see. That's weird. This is the Julia Domna one I was talking about last time, and yeah, it's almost like she has the zodiac around her, right? This is a goddess, so I don't know if this is Hera or it's not Domna, but but she was styled as the goddess Cybele. So, and you have this zodiac around her in this coin here. We have Artemis. Actually, we have a quote about that of Artemis Ephesus. She's called. Now, obviously, here, just like Cybele, is featured with a tower on her head. But again, it looks like a Modius. And the Modius can stand for the same thing, right? So, I already showed this one, just to show it again. It's endlessly fascinating, this particular part, because it's just, yeah, what are they trying to say? And if it had just been the bust, then fine. If it had just been, where is it? I've lost it again. Oh, this one will do. This is my channel profile pic. And I saw it one day and I just thought, I feel like a change up. I'm just going to use this. But the black, I quite like the black,
But it's very clearly shaped like a flame on top of his head.
Definitely.
Coming out of the container. So yeah, I mean, the Modius is definitely seeming to indicate a torch or a basket full of gunpowder. And then when you look at all of these other pictures with the rays coming out of behind the head, it kind of reinforces the flame association. And it really reminds me of Blackbeard, another gunpowder association.
Mm-hmm.
Where Blackbeard had, the gunpowder in his beard,
Mm-hmm.
And then Lucifer, I could pull this up about, if you don't mind, can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, of course. There you are.
So,
hi, Stephanie.
I have
hope
an
you're
article.
bearing with us while we're finding our feet here. Sorry, go ahead, Caleb.
I have an article.
Oh, yeah, it's getting a bit glitchy there for a sec. Might be clearing up in a sec. I can't really hear anything. I can't see your screen there. It's not coming up. Oh, wait, now it is. It's up.
Let's see. So basically with the Luciferians, and it's in this article, when the leader comes in, let's see. Essentially, it's like in their rituals, the leader is lit up, artificially for effect. I can't remember what part of the article it's in, but it's in here, and y'all should check it out. But yeah, I think that the Modius was a prototype of this, the Serapis, because here this is talking about the Luciferians back in the 1300s. You have the Catharis going back to the Catharism, and then these communal living. They were living in like these communes, and it was a lot of swapping partners and kind of things. And then you have, it says here, some poor women united to live in foundations called beguinages, where the religious rules were lax and all this kind of thing. So there are these communes, but beguinages, that's where Michael Desarian talks about the beggar's benison. And there's a Rolling Stones album called The Beggar's Banquet, and it's talking about the homosexual Illuminati, essentially. Here it says, some Beguines, beghards, see, the male counterparts were called beghards, or beggards, right?
Okay.
They became involved in heretical activity by the end of the 13th century. And, they're heretics. So here it says the Luciferians who appeared in Germany from 1227, Bohemia, right? And they went underground, sexual orgies and subterranean places, caves, right?
Yeah.
So in the year 1315, a canon of St. Vitus Cathedral reported to Rome that the Bishop of Prague, John of Drazik, had, through laxity, permitted heretics to spread throughout his diocese. The Bohemian Luciferians were similar to the Austrian. They had, however, an elaborate hierarchy with an archbishop and 7 bishops, each of whom ruled 300 heretics. We're talking about a massive, you know, remember on our earlier episode where we talked about how there's these rings and each ring goes to the ring below it. So it's compartmentalized. It's more compartmentalized than a military, and they're still
Reminds me of the
around.
rings in Give and Take, but the way that they descend down, boom, 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 like the 3 rings.
There's so many layers to that stone. How many layers of symbolism it has, it's insane. 1336, other heretics who were called Waldensians, but held the beliefs of the Luciferians, appeared in Austria. Now, here it says, at their meeting, Lucifer appeared to them as the King of Heaven, arrayed in splendid crown, scepter, and shining clothes, and followed by many retainers. So this is when he shows up in the cave. So at their meetings and caverns. So everybody shows up, they're in the cave, right? Probably waiting around for a while. And then all of a sudden, Lucifer in all his glory, shows up. And he has the splendid crown, scepter, shining clothes, and followed by many retainers. So that's why I pulled this article up, because when you're going over all of these pictures with...
It's going, for some reason, it's when all distorted. Just wait, just give it a sec.
Yeah, I gotta I gotta try to remember when I'm changing the image. It'll wig out for a minute. But yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I think those images you're sharing of Serapis and everybody with the Modiuses on their head with the sun rays behind them, we're saying it does relate to gunpowder.
Yeah.
But I think it's a prototype of the Lucifer imagery as well. Now I'll pull up one more thing. Never mind.
Let's just say, because coal would have been seen as the abode of Pluto, right? It's a material of the underworld. So he stands as Pluto, and of course we have the Time God here. But yeah, I'll share my entire screen. There we go. So we have him here. As we said last time, he's just Gali dancing here. I've taken a closer look at this, and it's definitely a stump, and he's doing his Rain Man dance, and this is the zodiac above him. But what's also here, there's a bell tower in this as well. We've got bells in this thing. It's a Carillion bell setup. It's a Carillion bell tower, and yeah, it lights up, and I think it's directly related to this as well, and what Caleb was talking about, the shining one, the Illuminati, if you like. But I do think it refers back to these ancient cults we were talking about. Let's see if I can find those forts that we had last time. Did I actually add those, or did I forget? Well, here's Silbury Hill, and this looks like a volcano, but it also looks like a pyramid. And again, those are shaped like it. And I forgot to tell you last time that the Civic Center reminds me almost like of an invisible volcano. Sorry, invisible pyramid, because I'll show you the layout on the map we had earlier on. Where is it? Up here, there we are. Okay. There, it's a square, right? This is the tower. Here, sorry, that's the council chamber. You have this here, which is the tower, and it comes out, but then you have this complex in here, and the whole thing reminds me of like an invisible pyramid. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because yeah, that would take a longer time to go into all the ins and outs of that.
And just in case anybody's unfamiliar and confused a little bit, but commons, the three ingredients of gunpowder is
Thank you, yeah.
carbon, saltpeter, and sulfur. And those three ingredients are particularly found in volcanoes areas. So the area around the volcano, under it, basically that's where you mine for those materials, is in the vicinity of volcanoes. So that's why it's associated. So anytime you see volcano symbolism, gunpowder symbolism could be closely nearby as well.
Of course, yeah. Exactly. I always forget about that. Those little details. So we have Sogmatar here, which is in ancient Turkey, now known as Sanliurfa in Edessa, what was known as ancient Anatolia. So we have one here, and the Elagabalus stone was actually held here, according to Ralph Ellis, at Sogmatar. Here we have Shmemis, which is in Syria. It is a fort inside of on top of a volcano. Someone has put welcome on the side here, probably to the aliens that they are trying to contact. No, I'm just joking. Or am I? We'll have to wait until later to hear about that. But no. So this is a thing, and apparently this is also a thing in England, Britain as well. So this is Stirling Castle in Scotland, built on an extinct volcano. And then we have there it is. And then we have Edinburgh Castle, Arthur's Seat, built on Arthur's Seat, which is a basaltic column extinct volcano. In fact, the whole of Edinburgh used to be a super volcano at one point. This part in particular, though, from what I understand it, this part was the last bit to go out, was the last bit to go extinct. And this is where this has so much history. And when you read Commons Beaumont's The Key to World History, the story of Edinburgh, it's almost like the story of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings. It is beyond fascinating. I went to Edinburgh before I read Commons Beaumont's Key to World History, and the things that I saw there were just incredible. And then when I read the book, it all came alive, and it was like it was playing out in my head. And the way the Lord of the Rings movie plays out, the two towers, which is interesting in itself, right? We're talking about towers right now. We're also talking about castles built on top of old volcanoes. Yeah, the lighthouse, the tower, the first beacons were lighthouses. From there, we should probably go into Ralph Ellis's quotes. Some more of them. So let's have a look now. Where are we? Okay. Yeah. So we talked last time about we left off about we left off talking about the zodiac. I'll just get this up quickly. Oh, I don't know why that disappeared. Never mind. Here, there we are. Top down. Okay, and the time gods. Just where is it? Oh well, it's somewhere around here. Oh, there. So where this council chamber is, the time god's just down there. This is what's on top. Okay, and Ralph Ellis last time he said that the name Nazarene refers to zodiac, but also the Galley priests, the Galileans, refer to the Great Circle, the Great Zodiac. And down there we have the time god who's dancing like a galley priest. So we'll continue with Ralph Ellis from where he was. He says, everything about this huge circle in the heavens was of great magnitude and of great import. Thus, the Nicene Nazarene Galley were the Nile Serpent sect, who venerated the processional zodiac and the sacred Grail stone. And one of their primary religious sites was at Hamat Devere on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. We talked about that. He puts in a picture of the Galley ladyboys of India just to show that they are still around there. That was getting a call there. I do apologize. I will have to call that person back and stick this on silent. Thank you. All right, back to it. The Galley ladyboys of India. Yeah, so they're still wearing modiuses, by the way. Maybe I should get a quick picture up of that. Well, do I have that picture? Let's have a look. I think I might have that picture already. If you give me just a sec, but it's not really. Could do you want to? Do you have any thoughts on that, bro? While I'm looking for this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting stuff, you know. You have all of this symbolism just coming together between the Civic Center and the egg statue. The egg statue in particular, I mean, I think that the panda and egg statue is quite a bit more subtle in its symbolism than the Civic Center, but both of them have a lot of layers that that weave in together pretty tightly. You know, it's not just random.
Yeah, I don't have this picture, so we'll move on. Where is it? There we are, and we'll share this again. So yeah, he was just basically relating that they're still around and they're still wearing modiuses. I'll share the screen here. People should read The Grail Cipher by Ralph Ellis to see that photo that I was talking about. It's very, very illuminating. So yeah, we were beginning to talk about how this Elagabala stone also is the Grail stone. So Ralph Ellis continues on from here, talking about the Elagabala stone in the context of it being the Grail stone of the Arthurian legends. Yet the mystery of the Holy Grail goes even deeper than this. While the Grail was often seen as a chalice and only occasionally recognized as a covert reference to a bloodline, it was also said to be a sacred stone. Impossible, the Holy Grail was said to be a sacred stone called the Lapsit Exelis, meaning stone from heaven, and although this translation for the name is much disputed, it is exactly what Wolfram says the stone was, as we shall see. And the Grail stone was also closely linked to the sacred phoenix, because Eichenbach says of the Grail, it is called Lapsit Exelis. By that stone's power, the phoenix burns away, turning to ashes. Yet those ashes bring it back to life. That stone is called the Grail. The Grail allows all animals that live under the sky to multiply. It gives sustenance to the brotherhood of knights. And nice. Caleb's just found the timestamp, I do believe, where we can actually show. There we are. We'll just bring that over here, just to give people context. Now, where can I put this? Oh dear. Oh yeah. Okay. There we are. And okay. Full screen it. There. Can you see that, Caleb?
Yep.
Yeah. So we see here, guys, they're still around and they're still wearing modiuses. just like the goddess that they would the Galley priests would worship, and they would wear dresses like this too.
They're like the beggar's banquet there.
Right? Yeah, the beggar's banquet. Oh dear. Oh, they're not lookers, are they? So thank you for that, Caleb. There, yeah. Just let it set in, guys. These guys are still around, and India isn't afraid to show it. They let it all hang out. Getting back to it. Let's get this up while I'm here. Quickly, let's get the presentation photos, and we'll go down to any one of these. That'll do. Bring it up in the background while I'm talking here. Oh, I've lost my space. This went all the way down. That's not good. Right, there we are. Okay, good. See if I can put this over here. Oh. Do bear with me, guys. It's much appreciated that you're patient here. There we are. Okay. Should we read that other one? So in connection to the picture I just brought up, Ralph Ellis says, contrary to the classical view of Sir Galahad in the previous image, it is much more likely that Sir Percival Galahad dressed like these Hydra eunuchs from India. Note that 2 of these Hydra wear a crown that mimics the shape of the city wall crown worn by the goddess Cybele Artagartis. Although it should be stressed that the Nazarene Ebianite would not have worn dresses quite as revealing as these. The dresses that Sir Galahad wore would have been more like those depicted in the next diagram that I'm not going to show you. So getting back to it, yes, the lapsit exelis. By that stone's power, the phoenix burns away, turning to ashes, yet those ashes bring it back to life. That stone is also called the Grail. The Grail allows all animals that live under the sky to multiply. It gives sustenance to the brotherhood of knights. Surprisingly, we know that Eschenbach is giving us true facts here. As far as such assertions can be known as true facts, because we have an image of this very stone dating from the 3rd century. It is the Grail stone of Emperor Elagabalus, which was known as the Elagabal and translated as the Sun God Mount or Sun God Mountain. And while this descriptive name may sound confusing, it simply refers to the Egyptian concept of the primeval mound. Let's get a few more pictures up while we're at it. On the Bank of England. Oh yeah, the door of the Bank of England. Okay. What would you expect to see on the door of the Bank of England? Something you'd expect to see in a hospital, perhaps? No? Well, that's what you get. Right? You get the most elaborate freaking caduceus you've ever seen in your life. You get what looks like some kind of flaming spire on the top here with 2 doves, which denotes the Holy Spirit, I do believe, or the goddess. You have the wings of the sun disk here too, or the wings of Hermes. Obviously, the caduceus is related to Hermes. So we're talking about the Orphite cult, guys. Right? Talking about the Orphite cult, and I mean these are the most elaborate snakes I've ever seen in a caduceus. It's very fierce looking, but that's not all. Getting what we were just talking about in that quote, I do believe that is a primeval mound, or 3 mounds.
Give it about 3 or 4 seconds when he's switching image. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, we have the primeval mound here. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now all right?
Oh yeah.
We have the primeval mound here, and but we have 3, right? And one of the icons of Newcastle is 3 towers. It's actually the oldest coat of arms of Newcastle is 3 castles. So we've got 3 castles here, 2 lions, which if you look at Alan Delaney's work, has got to do with lines. The lions represent lines, as in sacred ley lines. These are the guardians of the primeval mounds, I'm guessing. But of course, you know, I mean, this is the Bank of England, right? Well, I mean, here's a primeval mound too, and this is right near the Deloitte accounting firm, which obviously a lot of, I reckon they have a lot to do with the Bank of England, right? It being a financial firm. So we've got that. What else was I going to bring up? But you know what? I'm just going to continue. I think I was just going to bring up this stone here, but it's right there where I need it. Oh yes, of course. No, what else was Ralph Ellis talking about? He was talking about the coins of Elagabalus, and here is one of them. And here's the phoenix embossed upon it. Emblazoned, sorry, not embossed. Emblazoned upon it. And that is an 8-pointed star there. So it's it frequently accompanies all of these different coins for these different emperors. I talk about the 8-pointed star a lot in my new article coming up. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's a sequel, let's say, to my other article on Kirchsthalmer. So, but yes, so we have that one. We have an even clearer one here, too. Oh, it was clear. I don't know what's happening to these images, but when I click on them, then they immediately go down to a bad resolution, terrible resolution. And this is an Antonidas coin, and it too, if you can see there's the phoenix on it. He was obsessed with the Kybele cult. He styled his wife on her. He said she was the living embodiment of Kybele. And here we have the Elagabalus stone too, inside of a temple. So here's a picture of what the phoenix looks like, by the way, just quickly, because I didn't show many different versions of it. This is the Wall's End coat of arms with the phoenix on it here. And you see these flames coming down here, or teardrops maybe from the Isis, the night of the drop. And it's heralding the rising of the rivers and, time to build, time to trim the fat of the land, as they say. And here's some more phoenixes getting back to it. The Holy Grail stone had the image of the phoenix embossed upon it back in the 3rd century AD, so Wolfram's description of the lithic Holy Grail was correct. The Elagabal Grail stone was a real artifact that Emperor Elagabalus used to place in a chariot and take on processions around Rome. And this sacred stone was also intimately associated with the phoenix that it had let me say that again. And this sacred stone was so intimately associated with the phoenix that it had an image of this fiery avian embossed upon it. Yet the coin of Elagabalus predates Wolfram von Eschenbach's similar description of the Grail stone by 1,000 years. And since it is highly unlikely that Eschenbach ever saw a coin of Emperor Elagabalus, we know that an oral or literary tradition has maintained the link between the Grail stone and the phoenix for all of this time. The history and travelogue of this particular sacred Omphalos stone is explored in some detail in the King Jesus trilogy. I recommend you all go, and there will be a link. I recommend you all go and buy it. It's inexpensive right now. He has them all grouped in. He has a bundle deal on. So yeah, you go ahead and pay this man some respect and make sure you archive his work somewhere. I recommend getting it in hard copy. But yes, it is an interesting story in its own right. I would love Ralph to come on to talk about it. And that's what I wrote there, my notes. The connection between this sacred Omphalos stone and the Grail princesses, that is, a select royal family were chosen to look after this sacred Grail stone. It feels like we've suddenly gotten a bit closer to what we really want to talk about here. So, yeah, the Grail princesses, who were extremely rich. If anyone knows anything about the real Mary Magdalene, they are extremely rich, and this is outside an accounting firm, no doubt connected to the black nobility, as Michael Tessarian calls it, otherwise known as the Grail princesses or their descendants, according to Ralph Ellis. And yes, I think we're getting closer to solving this little riddle, at least part of it. So here we have a Grail stone, and yeah, we know that the Grail stone is connected to the Knights Templar. But I mean, if we're looking at a Grail stone, so what is this? The female side of the Templars? We've got to do our homework here, guys. When wasn't the Templars a big boys club? Nope. You'll have to go to Michael Tessarian's Female Illuminati site to look into that in more detail. Could you take over for a second, bro? I need to do something quickly. Sorry about that.
If the Templars were an old boys club, they would have ditched all of this female symbolism a long time ago. Yeah.
Do you want to turn yourself up a little bit, bro? I don't know if it sounds like it's gotten a bit quieter.
What about now? How's this?
I'm hoping the sound will adjust when it's all processed. Sorry to anyone who's listening live right now. We're going to get Caleb a good mic. I'm just ribbing you, bro. Okay. Right. Yeah. My TV was going to turn off. I needed to press the remote. But yes, let's continue. The connection between this sacred Omphale stone and the Grail princesses is that a select royal family were chosen to look after this sacred Grail stone. And that family line passed through the first Fisher king, King Pelles, and thence to King Arthur, Jesus, and beyond to the line of the Fisher kings. This was the Grail family that had been entrusted with guarding the sacred Grail stone through the millennia. And the chief priest entrusted to be the guardian of the Grail stone was the Peter Cephas, the stone. And as we saw in chapter 6, one of those guardians was the biblical Saint Simon Peter Cephas, who was appointed as the guardian of the Grail by Jesus Isas himself. And if the first Saint Peter, or keeper of the stone, was Bron Hebron, as will be demonstrated again in a later chapter, then the next Grail guardian was Sir Percival Galahad. He then goes on to list in chronological order the royal princesses who were the keepers of the Grail, which the stone passed on to, and that they were mythologized in the Arthurian legends as well. For brevity, however, we'll have to leave that. Ralph Ellis continues, and actually before we continue, Elagabalus had this stone, but I mean he was castrated. He was essentially, completely nullified as a male, but the whole idea of it, once we actually dig into the Gnosticism of these guys, find out that, it really was to equate themselves, to identify themselves with the goddess. So these guys, were symbolically female. So even that there, if you don't believe in the whole, the princesses, the Grail princesses and the female Illuminati exists, then you don't really need to. The evidence speaks for itself. What these people were getting up to, they were obsessed. They're obsessed with the goddess and becoming one with her in a sick sort of sense. Okay, yeah. And so there is a claimed line of transmission that takes this information and knowledge about the Grail stone all the way back to the 1st century family of Jesus within Eichenbach's Parzival. This 1st century princess called Phlegetanus is said to have been an astronomer who was able to define the regression of each planet and its return. Knowledge of the stars, knowledge of the planets. Probably a prophetess. So yes, she was able to define the regression of each planet and its return, and how long each revolves in its orbit before it stands its mark again. All humankind are affected by the revolutions of the planets. With her own eyes, Phlegetanus saw and spoke of it reverentially, the hidden secrets in the constellations. And here he's got the reference from the Grail text Parsifal here. One of the central tenets of this esoteric Gnostic religion was obviously astronomy and the workings of the cosmos. And this is why so much obscure astrology and astronomy will be discussed in a later chapter if you read his book. This seeming diversion into esoterica is not incidental to the Arthurian story. It is the central foundation upon which this belief and story was constructed. But the wise Flegetine did not just know about the revolutions of the planets, since she was herself the Grail princess. It is not so surprising that she also understood the true nature and origins of the Holy Grail. And surprisingly, the Grail was not a chalice, nor was it simply a bloodline, and it wasn't even a fiery meteorite that had once flamed through the skies of ancient Egypt. No, the stone of the Holy Grail had come from and what can only be described as a party. Are you ready? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. No, the stone of the Holy Grail had come from what can only be described as a party of extraterrestrials. What do you even say to that, guys? Good night, everybody. I think we can leave now. Roll credits. Now, I really wish this podcast was less shaky than this, but we are trying out a new format. But this is what I was dying to get to for the past 4 podcasts we've done. What is he talking about? The fire. Okay, so it was a fiery meteorite and landed. Let's say these prophetesses, these prophets knew, these astrologers and astronomers knew where it was coming from. And knew where it was going to land. Maybe this meteorite was one that created a really big disaster. Maybe it caused the flood, right? The night of the drop. This is what I was trying to get to earlier, right? Was maybe this Elagabalus stone was a meteorite that caused a massive flood, and that's why it's like the night of the drop. But referring to the ancient Egyptian myths with the Bennu bird, it's more to do with the re-swelling of the Nile, so that they would get their crops and they would reap their sustenance from that. But there's also this stone. It's kind of like a massive warning that I'm going to send you nice little teardrops that are going to fill up your river, but if you F with our people, we'll send you another one of these that will send you a flood you can't handle and that you can't reap the benefits from. So that's where I was originally going with this, but then he throws this out. The Elagabalus stone came from aliens. What do you think about that, Caleb? You can talk about that while I go to the toilet.
Oh, maybe it's like a dead battery from one of their spaceships. I just left it. I don't know. Yeah, if it has magnetic properties, and it's a meteor, it might have a lot of properties that are unusual for any sort of materials that we have normally available to us on Earth. It would be unlike any material that you would be able to mine on Earth, because outer space is able to produce very unique materials, especially with the idea that the temperatures in outer space fluctuate a lot differently than they do here, and things have the opportunity to cool down over a lot longer time span in outer space than they can here. There was a picture floating around on Facebook a while back where it was showing these little pieces of meteorite that had, I think it was made out of titanium and nickel, so it was a really shiny metal object, but it had an interlacing. It had a lattice pattern in it. That they were saying is only possible to form in outer space where it actually has millions of years to cool down and crystallize. So the temperature reduction process that it undergoes happens extremely slowly over millions of years, which is not possible to even happen on planet Earth ever. So, different types of materials are able to form off of our, like outside of our planet, that would be impossible for them to form that way within the confines of our planet. So having those types of materials, they may have properties that are completely unfamiliar to anything we have. So that might be something that would give, building a spaceship like the aliens are supposed to have, like the flying saucers, it might require materials that aren't even found on a planet.
Can you remember this? Remember this, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, this is at a Templar commandery called Parasol in France. It's an old vineyard.
Oh, and by the way, the word parasol means mushroom.
Parasol means mushroom, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Parasol is
Well,
a
I
mushroom.
do believe this sculpture doesn't have any gender. It is genderless. And in the Gnostic texts of the Ophites, the Adamas, as it's called, there's even Adamas, like Emerson, with all this, with the S's, they really like to play with that sibilance in the word. Messin, Edessin, Adamas, And anyway, this sculpture, it doesn't have a phallus. It doesn't have breast. It's kind of like an amalgamation of both. It's reptilian. It's reptilian, guys. It's reptilian.
The audio's not like in.
Oh, sorry. The swapping.
Okay.
The swapping. Sorry. I'm hoping this comes through on the final.
The zooming in and out is also affecting it.
It's also affecting it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep that in mind. Yeah, we'll have to see if all this still comes out in the end. And just if we don't hear something, we'll just ask each other to repeat it, and that'll be good anyway for the viewers, because often when I'm listening to a podcast, I want people to say some things twice, and if it's worth it, it'll be good to just go over things, and obviously let you hear what I'm actually saying. It's reptilian, guys, is what I was saying, right? This is a Templar statue in an old holy place of an Elgabala stone, straight out of the Emerson dynasty. And
can you pull up some more images from the Parasol tour, or maybe pull up the video itself?
Pull up the video itself. You know what? Why not?
Sure.
Why not? Let's do it.
I'll be right back.
Oh, sure. So yeah, I'm looking at the chat right now. If you guys have any questions, I can answer it. We're working from a software that doesn't allow a lot of cross chat. There's not a lot of cross chat features. So, but if you guys have any questions on what we've covered so far, I do apologize that this one hasn't been we haven't gotten into the groove as quickly as the other ones, but I hope you have gotten something out of it. Been wanting to get to this part for weeks, and we finally get everything working, and I'm totally not in the groove. So even though the quality is all around improved, we still have to get used to this new format. And but I do appreciate everyone who's here. Oh yeah, while Caleb's away, I'd just like to say I just wanted to say thank you to Patrick who donated last night. Thank you, Patrick, and Kyle and Jen, who are subscribers of mine. Thank you very much. You make this possible. Very much, affirms why I'm doing it. I would still be doing it but thank you very much. If you like what we do, please consider taking out a paid subscription so it continues so this podcast can continue. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes, also, yes, Jen Venn, she's called Russ Viking on Substack. That's Russ Viking, all one word. Check out her Substack on there, and she's recently done a great podcast with Matt Presti, and she's going to have another one out soon as well. So check out that, please. Now, Parasol. Hopefully, Kale will come back and not. Whoa, did I put it in and it automatically come up and I didn't even realize? Okay, Parasol. Wow, I mean, what a video this guy infiltrated. This is what Sean Ross sounds like, by the way.
There's my.
He's hilarious. Here we are. Oh, what is that? Huh? Is this the Elohim? Is this the Adamas? That they all pray to? The God in heaven that they'll all go to, because don't even bother looking at this place, because they always have their eyes looking up like this. When all these politicians, all these stars, all these VIPs, they're always getting their pictures taken with. What does that mean? It means they're looking up. It means they're not looking around here. They don't need. I'm really looking forward to getting into this book, the Gnostic Remains, the Gnostics and Their Remains, by Charles William King. It's very illuminating. But this is a teaser in a way. It's a setting up for that little excerpt that we'll do. So yeah, it's right on the part.
No, I noticed that a lot of people in power, they've got this front like this, like a Y. Oh, look, it's a reptilian. Look. Normally, we have it like horizontal, but they have a Y where the nose is ending, you see? Just watch that. I've seen that before, Oh, it's a reptilian. So this Y is the reptilian. By the way, it's this skull form. In the middle, it's like, they found this in Siberia, in Russia, this skull form, and with a box of the SS Annenerbe. Yeah, there's an obelisk with a lot of glass in it, and that means, hey, humanity, we all have an obelisk up our ass, but glass.
I can't hear it, just to let you know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it might be going through, though, because it seems like, I don't know, I'm asking the chat.
Right, yeah. I'm looking at the chat. Nobody's saying anything. I'll put it down. Can anyone hear that? It's all right. I'm gonna edit this whole thing and take out all. No, I'm not. But maybe in sometime in the future, I'll edit this whole thing down and take out the best bits. But there's a lot of things to go through. Maybe when me and Caleb are on a break or something.
But yeah, did you guys see the part where he showed the sign at the entrance of the place called Parasol? Let's look at that sign real quick.
Okay.
Let's see if we can find. There we go. So see, now that's a different spelling. Like they invented that word. But why don't you just type in parasol, just normal spelling of parasol, into the search engine and see what comes up on images.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like parasol? Oh, you mean like parasol, yeah?
Go to images, yeah.
Okay.
Just see what kind of images we get. Yeah, parasol,
Yeah,
umbrellas,
umbrellas. Yeah,
but it's also a mushroom.
a mushroom, of course.
It's originally a mushroom. Yeah, it's maybe just type in parasol mushroom and
Okay.
see. So if you remember, on the sign of the video above the word parasol, it has the red cross, and the way that they drew it, I think, really shows the mushroom aspect of the cross. Let's look at it real quick. Go back to the sign.
Sure.
That Sean. Yeah. See that red cross above the
1 sec.
word? Yeah. That's the mushroom aspect of the cross. The red mushroom cross.
Of course, yeah, the red mushroom cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Amanita muscaria.
Yeah, so when they're out there having meetings by their statues out in the woods, they're not just sober. And their parasol, that whole place is a vineyard for a brand of wine called Parasol. Maybe do an image search for that. Search for Parasol wine.
Yeah.
Maybe some more symbolism will come up.
Parasol wine. Oh yeah. See if I can get a better picture here. I don't know what it is with Google image search, but they're fucking terrible. You try and get up you want big pictures, right? You want nice and big freaking pictures. You don't want.
And the hallucinogenics can be preserved in wine.
Yeah.
Which is where wine comes from.
They own and proliferate alcoholism, right? So they own all the alcohol distribution, all of the alcohol distribution infrastructure. They own it all. They reap in so much money off so much misery and drunkenness and numbing, and people's lives are destroyed on this thing. It keeps them fat and happy and stupid. I can't. You wanted one with the icon on though, didn't you? Or you're not too fussed.
Let's just say, I'm not sure what kind of symbolism we might find. Maybe just scroll through and see if anything pops out.
Yeah. That's look at that. Nice. Oi.
Keeping the wine down the mushroom cave. Wonder what's behind that door.
Yeah, right. Oh boy. But where was that? Was that the actual Parasol estate there I saw? Further on down? There. The province. Chateau Parasol. Ooh. Is that the same one? Yeah, that must be it, right? That must be the chateau. That must be the castle associated with it. Huh?
Yeah, that's where Sean went, huh? Looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Sean went. Yeah. I mean, do you have the balls to go somewhere like that? I'm asking anybody in the audience, do you actually have the balls to go somewhere like that and just walk around and check out their creepy statues and stuff?
My significant half tells me off for trying to get into these places. I will do it if I can find a way.
Let me share my screen real quick. I got some cool stuff here.
Yeah, go for it.
Right.
While you're doing that, what is this freaking serpent egg about? Right? What is this whole thing about them looking to these guys?
Here, pull your screen off. There we go.
Why are these?
How are we doing?
Venerated. But what is there some veneration going on with this? Is this their Elohim? Is this their spiritual alien reptilian gods in the sky, in the heavens, that are beckoning back them back home to where they really belong? I don't know. Things like this would certainly confirm that for me. It being a grail stone, it being a stone that relates to the Emerson dynasty of the meteorite from heaven that was gifted by angels. We haven't even read the rest of the quotes yet, bro. We haven't even read the rest of the quotes yet. And fuck me, when we do actually get into it. And then we've still got the Gnostic. We've still got the breakdown of the Gnosticism from Charles William King. Oh, I can hear that.
Who owns the beer? Who owns back to the pirates, but it even goes back before that to who runs these poisons.
It's death that they sell with no good effect on your health. What's your poison? I couldn't put it better myself. See, I reach my limits whenever you read these lyrics. Under the influence of gin, I've been possessed by evil spirits. I don't want to be sedated, intoxicated or trashed. I don't want to be mashed, wasted or a slave being lashed. Symbols live on every can, encrypted into many brands. Griffin images, pyramids and pentagrams. And it's a similar picture with cigarettes.
I have a guy who raps like this. He's one of my friends. With my kind of accent, or not this Cockney accent.
33-degree numerology was first seen. Illuminati usually swapping B for 13.
Okay, enough dancing.
Of the people, observe the word lager, reverse turns to regal. A violent universe known to explode with a stellar. If we don't open our coronas, we chose to close them forever. We wanna vote for the better, remain staying powerless. Alcohol was made by mistake by ancient alchemists. Few of us notice the truth is proving their motives. Ruined in this human illusion, losing our focus.
Knights of Malta and the Knights Templar, who were tax exempt, were the ones who opened the inns and the taverns and the bars. The cross and the crown, or two forms of slavery.
We're just monkeys in the jungle where the lions rule. Trapped in tyranny, in trouble with the wild bull. We try and pull the plough, working our donkeys. As the dragon drags us down, we turn into zombies. There's no kindness inside the eyes of a tiger's head. We're like flies in a finely entwined spider's web. Things the Bible say to hide in the facts. We're servants to the serpents, but blinder than bats. From the stories told in olden Greece, like the golden fleece, to the wisdom hidden in religion by a Roman priest. I throw a wreath of roses over your soul deceased. Stop the operating on the plains only dolphins reached. Close the lotus leaves, look into the signs deeper. On some punch and duty shit, feeding us wife beater. Probably makes double trouble to get you with a beehive mentality, buzzing stuck in the neck.
That's another thing.
With the knowing of the old magic, control the globe with a hold over the whole planet. Not with the cross keys, we never heard the angels. Rebuild the bridges they've broken and turn the tables. The peacock feathers are the third eye. Our star connection was suppressed and I suggest that you learn why. Drinking the liquor leave people sicker and bitter. Spread your wings like an eagle and see the picture is bigger.
The human wreckage and debris of these poisons that have been put into our life, yes. And the stream of dead bodies that they've left behind with their poison that they've been disseminating for generations.
The crown on the king or queen beams when you see the light. Reach the heights of the royal oak, climb the tree of life. Free your mind, leave behind this Orwellian wonderland. Those drunk on the wine of Babylon never could understand. They keep us anchored to the planet if we let it happen. Square and compass, the masons, the checkered pattern. Enlightenment is represented by the white swan. The white horse is the steed the pestilence rides on. The white heart is the infinite spirit world. We live in hell, given who's to drink in our prison mystics ringing bells, listening to different realms. The owl and cat assist and help with the witches' spells. The pineal glam is swapped to the pineapple. The lettuce ate by slugs has changed the pubs. The mind when your mind shackled. Built for the pilgrims seeking the holy land. Following the flock of shepherds leading a load of lamb. The goat and ram have much of their roots in Satanism. The cock and hen are the sun and moon in paganism. The fleur-de-lis is a symbol of the triple goddess. The green man's the missing spirit of the living forest. The thought of the underworld is the whale's mouth. The butterflies flutter by as I'm breaking out. They feed us shit and we're treated just like we're greedy pigs. So I'm rising higher than the phoenix with the secret tricks.
And why those bars and taverns in England are called strange occult names like the Green Dragon and the White Horse or the Black Horse and the Rose and the Crown. Ever wonder about those strange names, the Plough and the Stars?
Ask for answers regarding these sharp observations. Imprisoned by the stars and the bars, the constellations. The peacock, the wolf, the hound, the fox and the hare. The compass, the clock, the ball, the crown, the cross and the bear. The whales, the scales, the ship, the fish and the crab. The dolphin, the eagle, the swan, the three kings and the ram. The chameleon, the queen, the serpent, the dragon, the snake. The lizard, the lion, the herdsman, the chalice, the crane. The centaur, the horse, the archer, the arrow, the crow. The lynx is the cat, the chariot's the carriage of coach. The unicorn, the plough, the giraffe and the dove. The harp and the pup. The shielded scorpion who stars from above.
Anybody gone to England, you'll know that taverns are called arms, implying that it was a military order that opened them to poison the people of the world that go down there at 5 o'clock and sit there till 12 o'clock complaining about the government and drinking their brains out. Nothing gets done. That was the intention.
You're muted, bro.
Real quick.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is the castle where they filmed Lair of the White Worm, and it has a similar turret like Newcastle's Civic Center,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
kind of similar to Conan the Barbarian turret, you know.
Yeah.
I'll show another one.
Certainly.
There's another one. There it is. But you know, it's interesting because
God, yeah,
I
I totally forgot
think
about the Conan the Barbarian. Go ahead.
right. Yeah, and I think it'd be worth it to watch for anybody listening to go watch Lair of the White Worm, because it's like a parallel story to everything we've been getting into in this series. It's actually about an excavation of an ancient Roman site in Britain. So they go and excavate and dig up some the Romans in Britain where they were worshiping snakes. Or they were like a part of a serpent cult. Well, that's what we've been doing over the past several episodes, is digging up stuff on Roman serpent cult in Britain. And it's actually in the movie, they single out one emperor in particular called Carausius, Emperor Carausius, the
Sounds a lot like
rebel.
Caracalla or something, or Caligula.
Let me see what I can pull up on
Actual
him.
emperor as well.
Yeah, Emperor Carausius, the rebel emperor. The rebel emperor.
I mean, if you stick with us all the way through, and you know, you've been through all of these parts and been waiting with us to get to that revelation that in the Grail legends, this thing came down, as we'll see, because we haven't even got to the actual quote yet, where it came down from heaven, sent by angels, and then they were taken back up to the sky. But by their innocence carried them all. They just let them float all the way back up into the sky after they brought down this huge, heavy magnetic meteorite. It's beyond incredible, man. And the things we've been looking at about, you know, the reptilian. Oh yeah, we actually need to look at Peter Randall's artwork, the other ones he's done, because it's very similar to Give and Take. It's very alien.
Looks like Carausius came this would be a time period shortly after Septimus Severus, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's
yeah,
just
so it wasn't
an actual emperor. Oh no, I mean, if it was after Septimus Severus, then it makes sense, because it was Elagabalus that brought the cult in. It was Severus made the way for the Edessan cult. Sorry, the Emessan cult. And then after that, it was in Rome, you know. That's why Emperor Elagabalus was able to do what he was able to do. So he's an actual emperor, yeah.
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 And so that's who the movie
when was he ruler? Sorry?
Yeah, let me go back.
Oh, sorry.
It was late 200s.
Hate to interrupt you, Flo. Late 200s. Right. Yeah, no. I mean that's within the time frame just after
Emperor.
I think.
He was emperor in Britain and Northern Gaul from 293.
Let's have a look. Elagabalus.
He declared himself emperor in 286 AD during the Carausian Revolt.
Oh, so this is just after Elagabalus then?
After Elagabalus as well?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Elagabalus was assassinated on the 13th of 222. What a date. That's a lot of twos. All right. Oh, geez. I look at these statues. They couldn't even hide the shadows under his eye. This guy was stressed. I mean, when they sculpted this Elagabalus's face, you can see
I
the
guess
bags under his eyes. How stressed this
I
guy
guess
was.
yeah, sorry. I guess Emperor Carusius might not be on the list of Roman emperors because he wasn't an emperor out of Rome. He was a commander in Britain and Gaul, and then he just declared himself emperor over there, and it was called the Carusian Revolt. So you're not even going to find him on the list of Roman emperors.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think we gave a lot of people a lot of stuff to think about today.
I don't know. Maybe we should finish this and then leave it after that because there's only a little bit left to go. Yeah,
All right,
there's
let's
only a
go.
little bit left to go.
Okay.
So, yeah, and surprisingly, the Grail was not a chalice, nor was it simply a bloodline, and it wasn't even a fiery meteorite that had once flamed through the skies of ancient Egypt. No, the stone of the Holy Grail had come from what can only be described as a party of extraterrestrials. A party. Oh, wait. Let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm reading here. And let me get this egg back up while I'm on it. A party of angels or ambassadors had left it, the Grail stone, on earth, and then they rose high above the stars as if their innocence drew them back in. Afterwards, a royal progeny, bred to a pure life, had the duty of keeping it. Those humans who are summoned to the Grail are ever worthy. Since that time, the stone has been in the care of those whom God appointed to it, and to whom he sent his messenger. This is how matters stand regarding the Grail. Wow. So Eichenbach, writing in the early 13th century, believed that something akin to a party of alien spacemen had left the Holy Grail on Earth and created a special royal family to look after it. And this is why the translation of lapsit exelis as the stone from heaven is correct. Because this stone did indeed come from the heavens above. But this leaves us with an interesting question. If Eichenbach can be correct about the Holy Grail being a stone that was closely associated with the Phoenix, a history that had been accurately maintained for more than 1,000 years, could he also be correct about the origins of the Grail? Was the Holy Grail simply a meteorite that had streaked through the skies above to land with a resounding thud in some soft earth? Or was it a special stone with unique properties and capabilities which had been brought to Earth by a group of alien beings? Well, yeah, I think we'll have a lot to think about. And next time, we'll be getting into the actual beliefs, the Orphite beliefs, their religious and philosophical framework, and seeing what we can garner from that interesting bit, which I can tell you now, it's going to be worth tuning in for, especially in regards to everything we've seen so far. Yes, I do believe you have an article coming out soon, Kil. When is that going to be ready for us?
Hopefully it won't take too long, but
Yeah.
it's just coming along kind of slow. But
Yeah. Well, take your time with it, man.
It'll be out soon.
Just letting everybody know to keep an eye out on Caleb's site because he will have an article out on the British Edda by L.A. Waddell. I'm very much looking forward to that because I seriously need to do some revision on that book.
Well, the thing about that book is that he doesn't ever really explain why he considers it to be British. But I haven't got through the appendixes yet, so he might actually explain it in there. But yes, throughout the main body of the book, he never explains why he calls it the British Edda in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stuff that he does get into is very interesting.
I'm very much looking forward to it. It's things I need to go over again, and very much in the vein of what we've been talking about on the periphery of it, I'd say. Thank you everyone who joined us today. This is the new format. It should be much better quality, but we're still working out the kinks. It's the first time we're doing it. So thank you very much for sticking with us, having the patience. No, it's not easy when we're bumbling about and we're not in the groove, because we've never done this sort of thing before. But, you know, the live streams was a very new thing to us, and that seemed to be going great. And I'm hoping we're going to get right back into the groove of it next time. And yeah, I'll be restreaming this very soon on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that if you haven't already. It's the same on here as it is on Substack, the Novocastrian on YouTube. There, I will answer everyone's questions in the chat. We will see you. We usually stream on a Tuesday at around, what's your time zone, Caleb?
Yeah, well, we stream on Substack on Tuesdays, but then we stream it again.
3 p.m. What time zone? What are you?
Well, just tell people whatever time it is on your side, and they can translate it. Translate it from Greenwich time, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
then you can figure it out.
People seem to have trouble with that though. Whenever I put that, they don't look it up. So anyway, yes,
it's like 5 hour. Add 5 hours, and that's Eastern Standard Time. That'll give everybody
5 p.m.
So what's
5 p.m. GTMT?
Okay.
Yeah. Here.
Okay, so that would be probably noon. Noon Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Usually, but you know, you never know. We might not be right on time.
Yeah.
Every time.
We try to notify people. We didn't know which channel it was going to be on today, so I didn't want to put out a notification that we were doing it until we found out. And I just thought, you know, we'll just go live and see what happens.
But basically, if you're in the United States, it's like Tuesday afternoon sometime. Is when we stream on Substack. But then usually sometime like in the weekend, we have the replay stream on YouTube as a live stream, but it's not actually live. But we are in the chat, so we get in there and watch it with you guys and do the live chat, you know, with everybody who's there.
So again, thank you to my subscribers, Kyle and Jen, and thank you again to Patrick, who donated last night after the stream. Thank you very much. It is a big help, massive appreciation, big love, and we'll catch you on the next one. We'll try and keep you more notified. Caleb, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's end it here. Let's hide that. And oh yeah, you're at the helm of that, right? Yeah.
Go ahead and stop it on Substack.
Oh yeah,
first.
Okay, I don't even know if how to do that. Oh dear.